Just answering questions with Waptic. Here we go. I have a video up where I talk about missing 411, which is a hashtaggery thing by David Paulides about national parks being associated with Bigfoot. And that's why you have people becoming missing instead of hypothermia, paradoxical undressing, and terminal burrowing, which are normal, rational explanations that you can go look up. And he is the origin for this. It's not just something he crawled onto. And it has to be about Bigfoot. So someone's contradicting me on this. Everything about this person's work screams this. So it's obvious you haven't actually read or listened to him. He only looks at specific cases. Bullshit. He invokes Bigfoot to explain things, including people being found. They're not missing if they're found. This is like the meme, well, 300,000 children disappear every year, and 299.999 thousand of them show up. Leaving out the last step. Your analogy lacks a basic understanding of his research. His research invokes Bigfoot. He has created an extraordinary claim that is not backed up by his work, and he picks and chooses things. As you say, he looks for specific cases to prove his point. You discredit the searchers and the volunteers who attempt to find these people. No, I don't. They don't agree with him because they said he's wrong. And they found the people. I'm not discrediting them. I'm amplifying the fact that they contradict him and discredit him. In most cases. Not all. And also, people go missing every year because they choose to. Or because people simply die out in the woods. It's not that difficult to die in the woods. That's why you're supposed to take training and not be an idiot. You don't mention the lack of cooperation from the Park Service to release missing person data. It's not his business because he's a fucking Bigfoot researcher who's come to a conclusion that alien abduction or Bigfoot has to be the explanation instead of people simply becoming missing. He is not helping the situation. He offers no value for any of it. And that missing person data is something you can get from the people you claim are missing. And when you look up their names, you find them. But they don't want to give out information because I don't like this either. The U.S. Forest Service and Park Service aren't required to keep track of this stuff. They're supposed to take care of the parks, not the people who go into them. And many parks in the United States have a enter at your own risk status. And in some places in the state of Oregon, if you go somewhere, they won't retrieve you. They refuse to because you're unnecessarily putting yourself in danger, and the rescue workers, in some areas, including in the desert, they're not going to be able to find you without great risk themselves, and they just don't want to put in the effort. And that's a helicopter chopping through the air. Anyone can disagree with this man's undertaking, but for you to do it without even knowing what he's being exposed is disingenuous. What's being exposed is his bullshit hypothesis about Bigfoot stealing humans or aliens or whatever. Or interdimensional wormholes. Fantastical explanation for things that have been answered after being asked repeatedly. And him demanding, I want this information from the Forest Service, is akin to somebody saying, dig up your dead kid, I want you to prove he's dead. He's antagonistic so that he gets told no, so he can say, I'm a martyr because I was told no. You make it clear at the end of your video that the issue you have with him is that he makes money from selling his books. Yes, he makes money off of a presumed set of tragedies, in which case that's evil, and he makes it up into a Bigfoot UFO interdimensional thing. By the way, if anybody's curious where he got the idea from, it's an episode of the $6 Million Man episodes towards the end of the show when they invoked Bigfoot as being an interdimensional being, which is one of my favorite stories. The idea is that Bigfoot is literally just a transdimensional being. It's one of my favorite explanations for why you can't get evidence about him. It's an escape hatch. I think it's bullcrap. But it's one of my favorite stories because I was one of those kids who watched that too. Yes, he's ripping off a TV show. The people who are missing and found mean it's not a mystery. The people who are missing and weren't found, I don't believe him when he says that. I guess that makes him a charlatan. But you put it in as Charlton. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you spelled it correctly. He's profiteering off of people's tragedy, if they've happened, and in most cases these people aren't a tragedy, they were found. And he won't acknowledge this. He doesn't tolerate critique. No, he doesn't. So we're not going to have this discussion. You're the only one who came along here trying to defend him. And you say, well, he looks at specific cases. That's called cherry picking. And you don't understand his research. Yes, I did. I looked for his research to make some sense. I'm not going to buy his fucking book, give him money for this. If somebody really gave a shit about solving mysterious disappearances and claiming, well, there's these people and their mysterious disappearances. Okay. Did you check to see if they reappeared? Did you check if they contradict your story? And don't tell me I'm discrediting people who went looking for these people. I'm reading their data back. They don't agree with him. Yeah, you'll find 5 or 6 people who are desperate to find someone they never could find again. I understand that. Lots of people do that. But eventually they regret it because they hitch themselves to some idiot who makes this shit up. And I'm not going to be nice about David Paulides. I can't pronounce his name. Now, I will say in the video, it's a public apology. I am not going to say he was a bad cop or something. But his methodology is to ignore evidence when it doesn't fit his original idea and not try to solve anything or help anybody. That's really not what a cop's supposed to be. But I will say that before this happened, he was probably a good cop. Afterwards, I don't think he's worth it. This is like me finding out cars catch on fire because of bad batteries in Teslas, let's say. But instead of that, I say it's ray beams from space and dustification. Where did the buildings go? Where did the Teslas go? Instead of actually getting to the point. Next, I read the same page you did, and it says that the maximum velocity is 0.86 Mach, not Mark. Stop using the wrong word. But it doesn't say at what altitude. On every bit of airplane data you look up, there is a Mach rating, which is based on how fast the air moves over the body of the aircraft, total speed, based on the speed of sound at altitude. It doesn't change Mach number when you get close to the ocean until you hit it. You can fly a plane below sea level in some parts of the world because the area is actually below sea level. It's a dry desert. And the Mach rating still matches and changes. No, the planes that flew on September 11th were not speed limited below a certain speed just because they were at an altitude that could hit a building at hundreds and hundreds of feet above the ground or sea level. This is a bullshit statement. It is a made-up bullshit statement that any normal pilot would say is bullshit, because you can fly an airplane at whatever its Mach rating is at whatever altitude you're at. Mach ratings change with altitude, and at near sea level, the speed rating they were at was not too fast. You not liking hearing that doesn't change anything. I read the same page you did, and you ignored that it was M-A-C-H, Mach, not Mark, and 0.86 Mach means look up speed of sound at sea level. I made a very clear video. It's impossible for you to get around this. And it's not the maximum velocity, it's the maximum stated velocity, safe velocity. The actual maximum speed the thing can go at when they test the crap out of it is a different number. This is the maximum speed you're supposed to fly at. The people who were flying that day didn't give a shit after they got close to whatever target it was if the wings fell off. They were flying it to use it as a weapon for impact. Do you really think the kamikazes flew the airplanes into the ships in when we had Pearl Harbor and gave a shit about the wings falling off as they're falling into it? Well, I'm going to look for some pedantic bullshit reason to be. This is like claiming that Timothy McVeigh or whoever couldn't park a truck somewhere because it was a no parking zone. Fuck you. They went above the rating for an airplane that they were crashing into a building. They didn't give a fuck if they killed the building. They didn't give a fuck if they had a bad maintenance record after impact. Do you understand why your kind of asinine bullshit pisses people off? Because you do it on purpose. This is the reaction you wanted, so I gave you what you wanted. Now give me $20 like a good little prostitute. I'm not only da hoe, I da pimp. Next, on the same subject, the top 15% of a building can't crush the bottom 85%, all the way down to the ground. It didn't go all the way to the ground. There was a pile that was above ground level. You don't look at the pictures? Not enough energy. Why? And it wasn't the 85%. It was 75 point something something. It's almost exactly the right amount to do this. If there were possible, then one crew constructing experiments where you take the top 15% and drop it on the 85, crush it all the way down. You're talking about the people who sat there with cardboard boxes? Thunk. Yeah, that's a really good analogy. No, it's not. No, I'm not kidding about that. Those are people trying to disprove reality. The easiest way to do this is to make a sandcastle in the same ratio, break off the top. It's 25%, not 15, but you can do that, okay? Cut it off, or build one next to it. Bring it up and drop it with that much force and see if it causes crushing underneath it at all. Then see how high you have to lift it. Or better yet, actually do real experiments with physics simulators that actually can do this. All physics simulators show you the same thing. If you drop 1 or 2 floors, that actually requires really 1.5 floors approximately of drop distance for the upper whatever percentage you want to use, you can figure out what percentages will work. Next, if you're claiming explosives were used to bring it down, how many were they, and were they on all floors again? Okay. Do you understand that placing explosives on every single floor of a building wouldn't actually let it cave in any easier? In fact, it would be much more difficult. Yeah, it didn't anticipate me looking that up. Look up the actual demolition requirements for taking down the Twin Towers. You'll find out you don't know what you're talking about. Also, the building was weakened below that point, too. There were fires that were falling into it. It was burning down. That's why the expression. And also burning up because it was burning the ceiling, and that would burn the next floor up. Fuel all over it. Pieces of engine burning. But yeah. Well, there's experiments done. You mean that asshole with a cardboard box who will never take an example? Do you know what would happen if you actually built a cardboard box to that scale? It would be actually much more difficult for a cardboard box to be knocked down if you could build one to that ratio with that strength numbers. Cardboard loses, it doesn't scale that way, that's why we don't build buildings out of it, but you are talking like an idiot when you do that. The crush strength for a cardboard box is actually a little bit higher than cement for the kind of ratios you're talking about. But why don't you show us the actual experiments? One crew constructing experiments where you did this, and why did you pick 15% exactly? Can you come up with an example? Every other simulation that didn't stack the deck so that architects, engineers, and pilots who don't give a shit about their careers, who want to sign on with 9/11 truth, their bullshit story. I'm not going to go through the process of building yet another goddamn computer simulation for idiots. I'm in a bad mood right now. Sorry. But I'm a little tired of this kind of drive-by horse shit. If you want to prove that this actually did happen the way you think it did, build a building in ratio. Make it a 50-foot tall building. You can actually build this with materials. And make sure you measure the weight for all the cement and measure the weight for all the metal and get equivalent size metal pieces. Basically a Richter set material. And actually build a cement and steel building. Actual cement and actual steel. Okay? And then set explosives in there and tell me how many explosives you need to get it to fall down what you saw. Just like the moon landing. You think you have current technology where you can prove this? Okay. With other people watching, skeptics included, fuck you, you'll have skeptics, watching you mix the cement, make sure you're not cheating, because you will, just like every other liar who does this, just like the moon landing liars. Go out and prove you can fake this. And in this case, go out and prove that you can prove this was done with explosives of some kind. I want you to do that. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And